welcome us here and give us a sort of a little bit of an introduction on the work we will be doing here. I arrived yesterday, and the first thing we did was actually to see some clients and see some people doing the work on the field, because that's the number one thing I always want to do, is remind myself, why am I doing this work? As some of you may know, I've been doing this work for more than 15 years already. We've actually gone from 51% of financial inclusion worldwide in 2011 to the last data in 2021, which is 76%. So we've actually done a lot of progress, and that's been thanks to the fantastic cooperation we've done with many of you in the headquarters, but also in different countries. And many countries have actually sort of showed the way of and allowing themselves to be innovative and think outside of the box and being able to, without actually breaking stability of the system, which has actually been very exciting. Today we're here in Morocco, and the whole idea is to speak to the Moroccan, not only government but also with the private sector, on the whole issue of financial inclusion in this country. Morocco has been doing a lot of efforts on this front. So first of all, I want to say that there has been a tremendous amount of change in regulations, a very ambitious national strategy of financial inclusion. They've been trying to cooperate with new innovators. So we have seen that as a result in the last 3 years, double-digit growth. Having said that, we're still much lower than many of the peer countries. So we're talking about sort of 44% of financial inclusion in the country. And of course, mostly focused in the urban areas and the richer groups of people, and in the men. So there's a big disparity also between men and women. We're actually having a disparity of 23%, which is actually one of the highest in the world. So that also needs to be said. Of course, where do we see the biggest potential? The biggest potential is on digital payments. Sub-Saharan Africa today has 33% of the population are included by digital payments, and that's actually the only part that is growing, not so much in the old-fashioned banks, but more in digital payments. Here in Morocco, we've actually seen as most of that growth has been actually from the bank side, and very little on the digital payments. Actually, the digital payments still is 6% of total payments, so this is a very small part of the total ecosystem. So there's a very big opportunity in here, and there are regulations, but there are a couple of issues that actually need to be addressed. Of course, the role of fintech is actually very strong. I'm sure that you're also participating with some of them, but still not out there yet. There are 40 fintechs. If you actually compare with other countries, there's a lot of fintechs. But if you look at where they are now, I know they've been growing tremendous in the last 6 months, but it's been a very heavy and slow start. So we need to also figure out, these type of cooperations between private sector and also within the regulatory side, as to accepting this very promising role that fintech can actually have to really address the needs of the poor, the needs of the merchants, the needs of the farmers, the needs of different groups, the needs of women, etc. So that is something that we've actually been talking a lot about. And the other big issue is, well, once we actually get to that sort of financial inclusion, once we get to that 80%, like stated in the financial inclusion strategy, the opportunity that actually Morocco has not only to fight poverty and to fight, to create jobs, but that's what financial inclusion does at the end of the day, but also increases resilience, by actually having access to savings and actually having access to insurance. And that's a very big part of what we call the inclusive green finance. So the inclusive green finance is not only green finance at a level that is, I would say, macro, in which we have blended finance to actually have windmills, thank you, windmill parks, that are very big, but also to look at the families and the households. How can they actually invest in a solar panel? How can they invest in their water system? How can they invest in better seeds, in irrigation system? That's on the opportunity part. And the other side is also what happens if there's a drought or there's a flood. and how they are going to protect themselves. So, so this resilience and opportunity side of the inclusive green finance is a very important part. It would be very difficult to come up with anything right now with the amount of financial inclusion we have, but also for the green finance side and the sustainability development of this country, we need financial